grow together as a group, as we begin to understand not only the opportunity to experience a new culture, but the opportunity to be challenged and to grow. Help us as we prepare our minds and our hearts for what lies ahead. And thank you for what you are doing in us, even tonight, as you are beginning a good work in us. Just pray you help us to be quick to respond and be faithful and trusting in your hand that leads us. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. We'll probably have the same format tonight and most of the nights. Talk for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever, together, and then break up into the groups for anything that people have. Tonight, I want to go over some things with you. Some of the things, might touch on a couple things we said last time. We have a few people who haven't been here before. And then some things I will probably be mentioning more than once as we go through our process, but that's because I think that they're important. How many of you do not have your U.S. passport yet? Okay, a couple of people. As you may well know, the portions of the U.S. government are shut down, including passports. So hopefully that will be taken care of soon. So as soon as you can, you need to apply for a valid U.S. passport. Make sure it has.
So are they not accepting any right now? Do you know?
I don't know if they're not accepting. They're accepting.
Yeah, because I've applied for one.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
a couple weeks ago.
But the processing, you haven't got it yet, have you?
No, yeah, I ordered it probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. Whenever we
Okay.
had the last meeting.
Okay.
Is when the day after that I went and then I got it.
Yeah.
Then you expedited?
No.
You expedited, okay, that's good.
You can, but I don't know how much the process, I heard that they were not processing.
They can also contact their congressman, and that person will help with the process.
Oh, good, that's nice. Contact your local congressperson.
And I thought I heard somewhere, let me look it up, that they were processing things that were in system, but they weren't taking new ones.
Not taking new ones, yeah.
Right.
So if you don't have it, you probably need to get in system, or check, maybe you can check online to see if they're check with your congressperson and see if he or she can assist you in getting that done. Usually even with, you can pay, what, $50, something like that,
Yeah.
processing fee, but it's
Extra,
usually, but it's usually, if you apply by now, you should be able to get it.
It's about 150
Although-
to get the passport, and then plus the extra 50 if you want to expedite it.
Once you have your passport, please give 2 copies, photocopies of the picture page and your signature. That is because should someone be separated from his or her passport, we have record of your passport. And we've never had to use it, although we thought we had to use it many years ago. She was the unique case. We got down to Columbus Airport and ready to go. She couldn't find her passport, didn't know what it was. One of the students, his parents were there in my group. She was in the other group. No, she was in my group. And came in and he had his vehicle there because he lived locally. And the only thing we think of, last time she remembered having it was in school vans. So we tried to chase those down, caught them coming out of a gas station in Gahanna, and it was down there. Same girl, we're getting ready to fly out, and she's looking all through her luggage, and you can't find it. It took her about 15 minutes, and she found it. So do not be that person. Okay? So give those, again, for the faculty person in case we need to use them. Also, if you haven't already, your medical history and release forms need to be given to your faculty person. Make sure that you fill out, and the most critical piece of that, other than just general knowledge we might need to have about that, is your emergency contact information. That is critically important. We have to file that with the university, And should there be some misfortune, we need to be able to contact immediately, well, as immediately as we get some places back here. So make sure you have that done and get that to your faculty person, whatever group you're in, as soon as you can.
Right, and make sure you get everything on there that you're allergic to, that any medications, even rare medications that you should never have, or anything like that. Because if we take you in for treatment, that can be an issue.
Yes, and where we're going, especially those of us who are going down in the southern part, access to reasonable medical services some distance away, so you have to be careful. The Damon Yoda rule. Have you know Damon? In addition, I'm going to pass out some websites here, a list of websites, and you can pass them around. Those may provide you some information about Belize. Some of them are touristy, some of them are newsy with information. While we're doing that, again, we ask every student to make sure you check with the CDC, Center for Disease Control, regarding any medications that you would take. My group, we will be going down south to Toledo District. I don't think any of the other groups are going down there at all. That is probably the area that's most at risk health-wise because of location. So just read those, and you and your family and your doctor decide what you want to do in terms of preventive medication for that. As well as the U.S. State Department travel advisories. Look at both of those sites. We leave that up to you to do that. Again, U.S. State Department travel agency travel alerts tend to take the worst case scenario. They will be likely to indicate that probably the most potentially dangerous areas will be in Belize City, especially the south side of Belize City. We will not be going into the south side unless, well, maybe not. Maybe we'll go to Bird's Eye or something. But we probably won't. They, again, they usually frame things the worst case scenario. That's what their job to do is, so don't be totally too alarmed by that. These websites, the first two are some good locations for news. BelizeNews.net. They have several channels that you can look at for the news, and I would recommend Channel 7. It tends to be the most neutral. Many of the means of communication, public radio and television, etc., are connected with political parties one way or another. Channel 7 tends to be rather neutral in that they have a great investigative reporter, Jules Vasquez, and he'll go after any party. He's great. He just goes after them, and he wants the truth. Cool. The other one is Plus TV Belize, and that is a good site. That is a Christian television station. Actually, the person that is owner, I met when he was in high school, when your dad and I were down there early on. And that is a very good, but they also do just general news. Those are good sources for news. Realize, as here in the States, the things that bring the headlines are the bad things, robberies, etc. Most of those will be predominantly in Belize City. We will not be in Belize City a whole lot while we're there, and even when we have been, it hasn't been any problems. Also, other information, travel information, you see the website there, travelbelize.com, for various attractions that some of the groups will be possibly seeing. And you can look and see a little bit about Belize. We may be going to the Belize Zoo, the Community Baboon Sanctuary, probably not Crooked Tree Wildlife. Definitely going to Mountain Pine Ridge. In groups, we not all go at the same time. Out on the islands, we will going out and snorkeling at Ho Chan, Marine Reserve. And the barrier reef, as I think I've mentioned before, the second largest barrier reef in the world is off the coast of Belize, and it's pretty neat. Various Mayan temples and archaeologies. We won't probably see all of these, but we may see some of them. Altunha, Lamanai, Lubantun. Lubantun is down south in Toledo, so we have to go down there. And Shunatanich. And Shunatanich is right across the river from Secot's, where many of us will be staying, education students, and my group will be staying for at least a week or so. In education, that's where you're going to be. That's to be your home. Some of the rivers, and again, these will show pictures of that, but you'll be seeing them in person. Hopefully, we'll go on a river cruise down the New River and see Lamanai, one of the Mayan sites there. We'll be by the Macau and the Mapan River. They come together in San Ignacio and form the Belize River. And we will go down south and see some rivers down there. Rio Frio Cay, we will be going to that. There's a weekend, Saturday probably, maybe two different ones. My group may go another time, but go to Mountain Pine Ridge and Rio Frio Cay. Pretty cool, Haley? Yeah. And other destinations, Ambergris Caye, when we go out to the Keys toward the end of our time in January, we usually take a day trip, go out to the Ho-Chan Marine Reserve for the snorkeling and go over to San Pedro, have lunch there, and there's some shopping there if you want to do that. And then Ambergris Caye, that's where San Pedro is located. Caye Caulker is probably where we'll be staying for the last few nights while we're out in Belize. Cayo District is where Secot's is in that area. And then for my group, Toledo District, we may go to Rio Blanco National Park. That's you get great visions of a national park. It's just an area, and they have the river goes through there, but they have this large rock, probably about 25 feet high, and you can jump off if you wish. It's deep water underneath, so that's kind of a cool place to go. So those are some of the places where we might go. Standards of conduct. While you are in Belize, you're under the same standards of conduct that you would be here on campus. So anything that is not acceptable on campus will not be acceptable as we travel to Belize. Also related to that, in terms of behaviors, also dress, some of the older people in Belize are quite conservative, the younger ones not necessarily so. But when you are visiting the churches and the schools, and you've probably been talked about that with the education people, dress very conservatively, no short kind of skirts. When we're around there, no spaghetti strap tops and things like that. Now, when we're touristy out in Caye Caulker, we're a little bit, you don't have to wear a long dress out there while you're out there. But when we're around people, it's important to do that. So no shorts, guys can, or people, you can wear short sleeve shirts, probably no sleeveless or spaghetti strap stuff there. We had a group sports team from Mount Vernon a few years ago went down, and the guys were playing just in their shorts, and that offended some of the local people. If they had checked me or somebody who'd been down there would say, don't do that. So it's quite conservative. The younger people tend to be not so, probably kind of like the U.S., but still we want to be very sensitive while we're there. And it's better to err on the side of being too conservative than on the other side. We don't want to make ill feelings with everyone. Wherever you are staying, and sometimes we'll be together in groups, sometimes we will not be, but if you leave the premises, you must have, it sounds like grade school, but it really isn't, there's a reason for it, you must have permission of a faculty person there. Do not go out on your own. make sure that that faculty person knows where you're going. Go in groups, even out in Secaucus, it's a small town. In the evening, it can get a little raucous, and so we want to err on the side of being safe rather than sorry. So you must get permission from a faculty person, and you go out in groups. Do not go out and definitely not as alone, and probably at least 3 people would be a good idea to try to stay with. Again, we've had very rarely any problems with that, but it's always, the risk is there. And this is especially true in the evening. The evening tends to be party time, and we don't want to be involved in any unfortunate events. Dress conservatively. The cultures, we talked somewhat about the cultures of Belize last time, and the tremendous amount of diversity in cultures, as well as language diversity. You have people of every skin color, shade, from Mestizo to Mayan to Creole and Garifuna, and also Chinese, or Lebanese, expat US, British, other Europeans. You can find just a little bit of everything in the country. So that's kind of a neat thing. English, as we said before, is the official language. A significant portion of the people will speak Spanish also. As you get closer to the border with Guatemala or Mexico, you have some people who may speak only Spanish, and especially out in the Nazarene schools there, that a couple of our groups will be going to. Some of the students come across from Guatemala and they do not speak any English, so there may be, if you have Spanish, brush up on that. It is polychromatic in terms of the way they understand time. We tend to be very precise. If we're going to be someplace at 7 o'clock, it's going to be 7 o'clock, or we want to be there maybe a little bit earlier. In a polychromatic culture, being punctual is not necessarily a particular value. Relationships are much more important. If you're involved talking with family or doing something, you have an appointment at 10 o'clock in the morning, 10:30, 11 in the morning that day. Those things are tolerated, much more so than here. Now you find some people for whom that is not necessarily the case. Some people are not like that, but many people, especially more in the villages, are much more laid back. I think you find the people very friendly, as a rule very open to people visiting, and that's kind of nice. We want to make sure that we make a good impression too, that they'll like us. And relatively speaking, there are pretty good relationships between the various culture groups in the country. Sometimes probably the most difficult relationship, relatively speaking, is with the Chinese and with the rest of the people in the country. The Chinese who have come there, the new Chinese, there's Chinese who've been there for 3 or 4, 5 generations, it's okay. The newer influx in the last 20 years or so are very entrepreneurial, and so they have set up shops and stores in many of the villages and have driven some of the local people out of business, so they're not always, it's a little bit cheaper there, but the relationships are not always the best because of their entrepreneurial approach. I think next time I will bring a must-bring list. These are suggestions as things you should bring on our time down there. But I will tell now, there is one thing that you absolutely 100% plus another 100% must have. You must have flexibility. If you want everything rigid and planned out, and this is going to happen this way and this way, everything's going to go pure plan, probably not going to happen that way. We'll have itineraries. Those may or may not hold true. We may have to make some adjustments there. The key is to be flexible. Let me also say that, well, Most of us will not be staying in super luxury places. I know Dr. Scone's got a nice location for part of the time he's going to be down there. But we were staying in very modest, most of us in modest facilities, campground buildings. Please don't let anyone get under the impression that we're going to stay in resorts. We had one person a number of years ago who somehow, I don't know where she came up with the idea that we're going to stay in a resort. We got to the campground in Secaucus, and they're just bunks and block buildings and, you know, pretty rustic. And she was very disappointed. She got all upset. She didn't like it. There were bugs, and it was all different than she thought. Called home, called her mother. Mother got on the phone with the dean of that school, and also called the VP of academics, and it was a mess for a few days. The same girl, this was probably Monday or Tuesday. By Friday, she was done with it. She was really enjoying herself, and she said, if you ever have someone who thinks that they can't handle it, she was, for some reason, thought it was all going to be really ritzy nice. Tell them about my experience. And we'll talk a little bit about culture shock that you will endure if you encounter if you have not been, especially outside the U.S. in a more differently developed country. You're probably going to have some culture shock. And we'll talk more about that. I would also suggest that as significant, and that was part of her problem, as that culture shock is, I would guess that typically the worst culture shock, the bigger culture shock, is coming back to the U.S. And one of the things I've had several students over the years would get into the airport, wherever, Miami or Dallas or wherever we're flying into, and say, man, look at these Americans. They're just like, you know, going through like this, like that. We're used to. And so, and I seriously, I remember coming back the first time I went down there and came back, and I'm driving in Mount Vernon, I'm going, wow, man, look at this. This is terrible. Mount Vernon, like in the slow lane. It was much faster paced compared to us down in Belize. So you will have some culture shock going into Belize, especially if you've never been in a developing country or a third world country. You'll have probably even greater culture shock coming back. Okay, any questions that you have, and then we'll divide into our groups. I will have to use my usual classroom rule. Only one question at a time, please. Okay, I think we can break into our groups and